नाजरीन, आज हम एक बहुत अहम प्रोग्राम का हिस्सा बनने वाले हैं। फॉर्मन क्रिश्चियन कॉलेज चार्टर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी, जो ना सिर्फ पाकिस्तान की सबसे अजीम दरसगाहों में से एक है, बल्कि पूरी दुनिया में इसकी शनाख्त है, इसकी पहचान है। और हम जो पाकिस्तानी मसीही हैं, हमारे लिए ख़ास तौर पे ये बहुत फ़ख्र का बायस है। आज इसी तनाजुर में मोहब्बत से एक दूसरे की खिदमत करें, बाय लव सर्व वन अनदर प्रोग्राम में मैं आपको खुश आमदीद कहता हूँ। और आज ख़ास तौर पे ये दिन अहम इसलिए भी है क्योंकि फॉर्मन क्रिश्चियन कॉलेज से जुड़े 3 ऐसे अशख़ास जो इंतहाई अजीम लोग हैं, बेहतरीन इंसान हैं और बहुत ऊंचे कद के लोग हैं। और ये फॉर्मन क्रिश्चियन कॉलेज के रेक्टर्स एक हैं और 2 जो इससे पहले रहे आज हमारे साथ हैं, जिनके साथ हम गुफ्तगू करेंगे कि पाकिस्तान के मसीही उनके लिए फॉर्मन क्रिश्चियन कॉलेज जो है वो क्या मानी रखता है और आगे उसके लिए क्या मौके हैं। वी हैव विद अस डॉक्टर पीटर एच आर्माकॉस्ट. He was rector of Forman Christian College from 2003 till 2012, and he foresaw the after denationalization of FC College, saw it through its institutional resurrection. We are so thankful for his hard work and dedication that he provided to the institution. Reverend Dr. James Tebbe, nationally recognized through a great award that our government awarded him, but also we as a Pakistani Christian community are always indebted to him for the hard work he put in and continued in the legacy of Dr. Peter H. Armacost, and also the present rector, not only a great friend but also a very big personality. He brings his experience of a diplomat. He continues in the legacy of his predecessors. So welcome, Jim, Peter, and Jonathan. What a privilege we have today. I think it's a great day. Great day. I don't think you realize how big your names are for a Pakistani community. Not only just Christian community, but for the country of Pakistan. Because FC College is not serving just one community. But thank you so much for being here today and being willing to talk to the Christian community today, how we can engage with them and offer them the opportunity and the possibilities that FC College brings to them. So let me start with Jonathan. What measures are taken by the university to ensure that maximum number of Christian students get an opportunity to study at Forman Christian College? Forman Christian University में क्या अक़दाम उठाए जा रहे हैं ताकि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा मसीही तालिब इल्म यहाँ पे आ सकें?
जी शुक्रिया। हमेशा मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि फोरम अहम इंस्टीट्यूशन पाकिस्तान के लिए और पाकिस्तान क्रिश्चियन कम्युनिटी के लिए. That often informs, and I think it's very true, that for both Pakistan and the Christian community. It's tough, by the way, to think about my predecessors. Not tough, but it's challenging because big shoes to fill. And again, I do want to, as you said, to commend Dr. Armacost and Dr. Tebbe for putting this institution on the path forward. I think for the Christian community, maybe a couple things to say. One is, I understand that in the immediate nationalization period, you could probably count on a couple hands the number of Christian students, Christian faculty here. Now we have more than 900 Christian students that attend Forman, and I think that's indicative of the openness that we have to Christian students coming here. Most actually of our Christian students are also on scholarship. When we talk about our diverse community, we also talk about diverse in a socioeconomic way, that people come from all backgrounds. And our students come here, and they often say that one of the joys, one of the strengths of Forman is that they have that diversity in terms of religion, but also in terms of socioeconomic background, and also in terms of places from Pakistan. We have a church relations office, a church outreach office, headed by Dr. Farzan Masih, who is an example of someone who I guess started, as he would say, in the Finnish mission school in Rasalpur. His father was a tailor, and of course he went on to become an eminent archaeologist in Pakistan. And although he's the head of our history department, he also is in charge of our church relations office. And part of that is making relationships with churches, trying to encourage their children, their youth groups, to know about Foreman and to come here. One of my early trips was actually to Gilgit. I was in one of the churches up there, spoke to the youth group there, and in fact, a couple of the students from that youth group had gone to Foreman, and that's the best advertisement. I think it's fair to say that anybody with the qualifications from the Christian community that wants to come to Foreman, they should certainly apply to Foreman. I think with those, if they have the qualifications, I think they'll be accepted. And even then, some people will look at the cost of Foreman. The reality is that we have probably some of the most significant financial aid programs in Pakistan. Those financial aid programs are needs-based. So yes, they go into the ability of the family to pay, and if it comes from a family that cannot pay, we help out. Our Friends of Foreman, our donations both within Pakistan and outside Pakistan help provide those scholarships. So that's probably the single most important thing in terms of encouraging people. And we really do want to work with the churches, to be honest. And I will also say sometimes the church community assists. And I think I say assist with their own contribution to a scholarship fund. And I love it. I love it when a church indicates its confidence in its youth to put money aside and say, yes, we'll also support them. But the reality is we know that many of our students could not come to Foreman without financial aid, and we do our best to provide that financial aid.
फॉर्मन क्रिश्चियन कॉलेज वापस हुआ तो 4 मसीही उस्ताद थे और 20 के करीब तालिब इल्म थे और तालिब इल्मों की तादाद अब 900 से ज़्यादा हो चुकी है. What a great news and privilege. Thank you for all the efforts that FC is putting so maximum number of students can benefit from this. Jim, coming to you, as a majority of the Christian community is unable to afford, it's a very important question. A lot of people will have that in mind. Unable to afford the tuition fee of Foreman Christian College, how does the university assist them in this regard? बहुत से लोगों के लिए जो फीस है यहाँ की वो देना मुश्किल हो जाता है, तो कॉलेज इस सिलसिले में लोगों की क्या मदद करता है?
Well, I think what happens is that when I was here, I would go out to churches or go out to different programs and places, schools, and the first thing that students would say is that Foreman Christian College is very expensive for us when they compare it to government colleges and universities, which of course are subsidized by the government and is a private institution and it needs to cover its own costs. And what I would always say is if you're capable, it is possible to study at Foreman Christian College. If you can do the academic work, we can make it possible for you to study through scholarship aid. And this has always been a goal that we have had here, and I believe that it's continued on. It came from Dr. Armacost's time, it was in my time, and it's carried on in Dr. Addleton's time. And so there are different ways in which that happens. So a person comes, they apply, they can be accepted, then they can go to the financial aid office, they can fill out a financial aid form. This then is submitted. There's a verification that takes place, and then there's a committee that looks at it, and they have formulas by which they can work on and look at this, and they can see how much it is and how much aid they can give. And most of the time, we don't give 100% aid. We think that everybody should have, as we say in the American expression, skin in the game. कुछ ना कुछ लोगों को देने चाहिए ताकि वो इसको value भी करें. And so that some people will give whatever they can. But then also, there was an emergency fund that was often put together. It was an informal one that was given by faculty and others that were here. And so students, Christian students that were in trouble, because they really do come, some of them come from really very, very poor backgrounds, there can be a little bit more help. And I assume that that's continued. It came from Dr. Armacost, came in my time. I even contributed to it, and then it goes on. So there are multiple ways in which this can be done. And there was a mentoring program for Christian faculty to look after Christian students because they come and they're overwhelmed by this big institution. You know, you come into the, a girl comes into Hope Tower and it's just beyond them coming from the village. Well, there's somebody there that can help them and talk with them, and then also see that there's financial aid. And then during our time, an office was opened up that was particularly aimed at looking at students that were struggling, and many times the struggles came from, because of a poor background, they're not prepared to deal with the many issues in this. So you have an advocate. It didn't give money, but it was an advocacy office that could go talk to faculty members, help them get the counseling that they need, and then even talk to say, well, look, you know, you can go to this committee here for a little bit of help financially, or we can refer you for work-study programs. There's work-study programs. A student can come here. They can work at the same time as they're studying in order to get some money that goes towards their costs and their expenses. And so one way or another, it can happen. And the picture that I like to give, and I've heard the testimonies of students who are graduating. They would take Christian students. There's one program we have at the end of the year where the Christian students who've graduated are invited and then celebrated and honored. And at that, different testimonies would come. And here's some wonderful ones. And one that I remember that was really such a special one. Here's a young man. He came from the village. He had nothing. Nothing. Well, he didn't. Not quite. He had 6,000 rupees in his pocket. 6,000 rupees in his pocket that was given by his family. He was sent alone. They said, there's a Christian college, university in Lahore, Foreman Christian. Go get admission if you can and graduate. He arrives at the college, and 4 years later, he's graduating. He has no debt. You go to college or university in the U.S., there's a big problem with debt from study. He has no debt. He has a job. He's speaking English well. He's grown in his Christian faith, and he has grown in his ability to work. And so he has. And so we say, this is the kind of thing that we like to see happen at Foreman Christian College.
That's amazing. Yeah. So खुलासा ये है जो बहुत ज़रूरी है कि आम लोगों तक भी पहुँचे कि अगर आपके अंदर काबिलियत है, आप फॉर्मन क्रिश्चियन कॉलेज में आ गए हैं, तो आपको पैसे की वजह से मसला नहीं होगा, आप नाकाम नहीं होंगे। यहाँ पे आप अप्लाई कर सकते हैं। जब अप्लाई करते हैं तो सबको वजीफ़ा दिया 100% नहीं दिया जाता, ताकि कुछ ना कुछ हिस्सा लोग भी डालें, लेकिन पूरी कोशिश की जाती है कि जो तालिब इल्म काबिलियत रखता है वो पैसे की वजह से नाकाम ना हो। और इसके साथ एक ख़ास वजीफ़ा है जो सिर्फ मसीही बच्चों के लिए अलग से अपने लोगों ने कंट्रीब्यूशन दे के रखा हुआ है, वो भी दिया जाता है। और इसके साथ साथ और ऐसे ऑफिसेस बने हैं जो बच्चों की मदद करते हैं। ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा कलीसियाएँ जो हैं वो FC कॉलेज से रब्ता करें डॉक्टर फरजान के थ्रू, और इन चीज़ों में हम जब FC का साथ देंगे तो कोई ऐसा मुश्किल नहीं है कि हमारे बच्चे जो हैं यहाँ आएँ और कामयाब ना हों। Thank you. That was a very beautiful answer. And Peter, welcome back. Welcome home.
Good to be back.
You are as loved today as you were when you were here. God bless you. So, Peter, how does the university ensure that its graduates are well equipped to enter their professional career and contribute positively to the society? किस तरह से यूनिवर्सिटी जो है वो इस बात को यकीनी बनाती है कि इसके जो तालिब इल्म जो यहाँ से पढ़ के जाते हैं वो पूरी तरह से तैयार हों और मुआशरे में जाके मुस्बत किरदार अदा करें? तो डॉक्टर पीटर आर्माकास्ट से हम ये सवाल पूछेंगे।
Well, for centuries, there's been good evidence that the best kind of education to prepare people both for their career and for citizenship is what we call a liberal arts education. And two ways of thinking about that. One is to say we're trying to teach students how to think critically and independently, how to solve problems, how to communicate effectively, and how to be a lifelong self-starting learner. If graduates graduate with those characteristics, they're well prepared for career and citizenship. It's broader than that, though. A good liberal arts education ensures that students take courses in the humanities and in the social sciences and in the sciences, so they have some grasp of the issues and they can think about the kind of issues that are important to the nation as well as in their career. And so you're trying very hard to be sure that the students themselves have enough information to be good citizens, to make wise decisions in the choice of the leaders that they follow and choice of the kind of issues that they want to see addressed by government. And a good liberal education with both breadth of learning and depth of learning is, I think, the best way to do that. And that's what we're trying to do at Foreman Christian College.
वंडरफुल. सो एफसी कॉलेज में वो सारे मज़ामीन पढ़ाए जाते हैं जो हमारे माशरे में बड़े ज़रूरी हैं. उनके बारे में इतना नॉलेज, इतना इल्म दिया जाता है तालिब इल्मों को कि जब वो जाएंगे बाहर तो वो आपने उस इल्म से जो यहाँ से हासिल किया है तो जाके जहाँ पे वो होंगे अपने अपने माशरे में उसको तब्दील करने के लिए, उसको बदलने के लिए मुस्बत किरदार अदा करेंगे. और एफसी कॉलेज में ये बहुत बड़ा मैं समझता हूँ इसका हाईलाइट है जो यहाँ पे, जिस पे बहुत ध्यान दिया जाता है और आगे और ज़्यादा किया जाएगा. थैंक यू पीटर फॉर सेटिंग दोज स्टैंडर्ड्स. सो बैक टू Jonathan. What measures has the university taken to ensure inclusivity and diversity among its students, staff and faculty? तो यूनिवर्सिटी क्या इक़दाम उठाती है अपने तालिब इल्मों में, स्टाफ में और फैकल्टी में बराबरी पैदा करने की और मुख्तलिफ जो जेंडर्स हैं, ख़वातीन और मर्द, उनके बराबर किरदार जो हैं उनको यकीनी बनाने के लिए यूनिवर्सिटी क्या इक़दाम उठाती है?
Right. No, thank you. Certainly to start with, we encourage applications for all jobs, whether staff or faculty, from the minority communities in Pakistan, from the Christian community. And it was mentioned, I think, at the end of the nationalization period, it dwindled down to what we said, 4 or 5 Christian faculty.
Yeah,
now we have a lot. We have heads of departments. Certainly on the administrative side as well, on the staff side we have a lot. I think this may be a good time to mention because I think it's an incentive to working here. And actually, again, I pay tribute to my predecessors. We encourage very strongly staff, faculty to come here and to apply. And obviously we have challenges like every other institution, but we really want to make this a welcoming place. And certainly a place where the Christian community is welcome at this institution. One of my colleagues actually reminds me that almost certainly we're the largest employer of Christians in Pakistan in the educational sector, and very possibly of any institution when you consider the numbers of people that we have from the Christian community that work at Foreman.
Awesome, awesome. So FC कॉलेज ऐसी जगह है जहाँ पे जब ये वापस हुआ था तो सिर्फ 4 फैकल्टी मेंबर थे और शायद क्रिश्चियन स्टाफ बहुत ही कम था, ना होने के बराबर था. लेकिन अभी ऐसी जगह है कि हर शोबे में मसीही जो हैं वो स्टाफ पे मिलेंगे, फैकल्टी में हैं. So Jim, you already talked a little bit about this question that I'm about to ask you. Does every Christian student get the financial aid?
No, financial aid is need-based. And there isn't special, no student is treated as more special than another. So whether you come from Muslim background or Christian background or some other religious background, those are much smaller. It's exactly the same. And so the reason that such a high percentage of Christian students, maybe up to 90%, 85 to 90% receive financial aid is because they come from such poor backgrounds. Compared to the rest of society, it comes from a poor background, and so that's why the financial aid is available for them. But it's not because it's because we discriminate on the basis of religion. It's on that basis. So that's I think that was a principle from before. It was during my time. I think it's continued under Dr. Addleton's time, Jonathan's time as well. What we can do, though, is so much of what Christians think about is the money, is the finances. And then they think, well, you know, the studies will take care of themselves. But there are 2 or 3 things. One is that people come from an educational background where they haven't learned English well. And English is important in this world, unfortunately, for getting ahead. And and they can't study well if they don't learn English. And so there is a very good program at FC College, and we will scholarship for an extra year, up to an extra year, if students will take it. So if a person comes from a background where they've not been taught English, there's an opportunity to learn English well, and then so to succeed in the university. And again we've seen those who've taken and gone through through this course, they've been successful in the university. So English is there. There's also a special kind, particularly at the college level, intermediate level. There's opportunity for getting coaching classes. Young people don't have the money for getting a tuition in academies, and so they can't go and get the kind of coaching that others do in order to increase their exam results. And so that's done internally to try and help them. If they don't have the finances for it, well, we can help them with that. And some of our faculty members, they contribute and work on that. And then there's pre-university, there's help in this. And so what happens is people think about the finances, but that stops them from getting the education. But that is only one small part of what stops you from getting the education. It's these other things that go wrong that make it so you can't get through. And we try to address those as well. So we address the finances, and then we address these other things in order to help those students be successful. Not just Christian students, but especially Christian students, because they do come from poor backgrounds. Yeah, often come. Not all, but often.
Thank you, Jim. मैं पासबान होते हुए, एक पाकिस्तानी मसीही होते हुए, बड़े फ़ख्र से, शुक्रगुजारी से ये कह सकता हूँ कि खुदा ने फॉर्मन क्रिश्चियन कॉलेज चार्टर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी हमें दी ताकि हमारी आगे की नस्लें संवर जाएं। और ये बहुत बड़ा मौका है, और इतने अजीम लोग हैं जो अपने घरों का आराम छोड़ते हैं और यहाँ आकर हमारी अगली नस्लों को संवारने के लिए काम करते हैं। Thank you so much for your time and also these valuable information and insights. Maybe each one of you wants to say a couple sentences just directly to Pakistani Christians.
Here's what I would have to say to the Pakistani Christian community. You are fully part of Pakistan. The improvement and the development of the Pakistani Christian community contributes to nation building in Pakistan. You can contribute to the identity of what it means to be a Pakistani, fully a Pakistani. The identity that you have is something that you can give. In the Arab nationalist movement, this was largely led by Christians in the Arab world. Even though the majority are Muslims, it was the Christians who helped to define what is Arab. And so it can be Christians in Pakistan that can make a big contribution to help to define what it means to be Pakistani. And one of our faculty members, Dr. Ryan Brasher, when he was here, he's now gone back to the United States, but he was here for a number of years in political science. I did a study on attitudes of Christians in Pakistan, and one of them is that they are fiercely loyal Pakistanis, more than average, fiercely loyal. Their identity as Pakistani citizens is very, very strong. And so continue with that. Stay and contribute to the country, to the nation building, and help to define what it means to be Pakistani.
Awesome. Well, that is profound, Jim. God bless you. That is profound. Peter.
Simply say amen. I think it's a wonderful statement.
Amen. Yes.
Yeah, there's a couple things I want to say. जैसे आपको मालूम है कि मैं पाकिस्तान पैदा हुआ, मेरे बचपन में मेरा वालिद वहाँ काम करते थे सिंध में, और एक कहानी है. This is a story. I remember growing up, and I have a deep admiration for the challenges that the Christian community faces, for the challenges they've been through, but also for the spirituality within that community. To hear the Zabur, the songs in Punjabi, it moves me very deeply every time I hear it. The Sialkot Convention hymn book is something that's familiar to me. I grew up with. But I think the story, and I said sometimes you can say things more effectively by story, is that back in the day when my parents lived in Shikarpur, every Sunday we would go to a town called Ratodero. And there was one Christian family that lived there, one Christian family in the whole town. Everybody knew the matriarch of the family. Auntie is who they called her. She was a midwife. And probably, it was Sultankot is what it was. Sultankot was the name of the town. And in the health unit there, she probably delivered every kid there. Her two nephews were there, and they were in education. They provided tutoring lessons. I think one of them taught at the local school. And I think about that. I think, again, the impact that Auntie had living there decades. I think of the contribution in health and education, where I would say that Christians have made an outsized contribution to Pakistan, and in so many ways, including actually the nurse that took care of Qadi Azam during the last year of his life. You're familiar with the story from the Christian community. And I think repeated multiple times over, and again, I think of the biblical passage where 2 or 3 are gathered together. The people that were gathered there in Sultankote every Sunday was Auntie and Basil and Leonard, her 2 nephews, and then our family, my parents, my brother. There were, how does that make, 8 of us, not 2 or 3, it was 8 of us. But I think about that over the many years, that the impact that they had, and the biblical image of the salt of the earth, if you will. I think that's what Christians can be in Pakistan, is the salt. I think in some ways we try to aspire to do that in Foreman as well, in the sea of education institutions, that there are some things that would stand out, including Armano. I'd love to serve one another. I take that seriously. I really mean that when I say it. And I think that that's also a sort of a measure of a contribution, the salt of the earth, that the Christian community could contribute. So we want to strengthen and build the Christian community in that fashion. But we also think, as was said before, maybe just to talk about Dr. Brasher's research, the thing that struck me is just a very short statement, that on average, Christians are among the most patriotic people in Pakistan.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, that came out so clearly, and again, deeply moving. But again, the description I mentioned about, 8 of us gathered in that little village, but that can have an impact too. And in the case of this little village, my goodness, in the case of education and health, it had a huge impact over many decades.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a blessing it has been to talk to you and to listen to you. हम पाकिस्तानी मसीही, हमें अपने पाकिस्तानी होने पे और मसीही होने पे फ़ख्र है. हम अपनी ना सिर्फ अपनी ज़िंदगियों को बदलें, बल्कि अपने वतन के लिए भी वफ़ादारी से काम करते रहें. पाकिस्तानी मसीही जो है, पाकिस्तान बनने के वक्त से, जब पंजाब असम्बली की वोटिंग हुई उस वक्त से लेके आज तक बहुत मौसर किरदार अदा किया अपने प्यारे वतन की तरक्की के लिए. और फॉर्मन क्रिश्चियन यूनिवर्सिटी जो है, ये भी एक बड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन है जो वतन अजीज़ को तमीर करा है. लेकिन मैं और आप जो मसीही हैं, हमें इस बड़े मौके से फ़ायदा उठाना है. अपनी नस्लों को एहसास दिलाना है कि थोड़ी सी मेहनत करेंगे तो बहुत कुछ है हमारे पास करने के लिए. और फॉर्मन क्रिश्चियन कॉलेज चार्टर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी खुदा की तरफ से एक बहुत बड़ा मौजज़ा है, बहुत बड़ी बरकत है हमारे पास. आइए हम सब मिलकर ना सिर्फ इसके लिए दुआ करते रहें, इसकी तरक्की के लिए जो भी हो सके करें, बल्कि अपनी नस्लों को हम एहसास दिलाएं कि हमें मेहनत करना है और इस खूबसूरत मौके से फ़ायदा उठाना है. गॉड ब्लेस यू ऑल.